It's time for the Young United People podcast with Nysha and Jayden.
Nervous. Ready.
Nysha never got it fired for some reason.
I'm sorry.
You can close your
Are we doing the intro?
You will do the intro, but it's into the conversation.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another
Yupisode.
I'm Nysha,
And I'm Jayden.
and today we have a very exciting and very interesting episode for you. We have a very special guest.
Yeah, I have a very interesting conversation. Like at the top of the month, we started talking about women's in ministry. Not women's in
Not
ministry. Women in ministry. And I believe that first conversation that we had was like very fruitful, very emotional. Like, I don't know, one of my favorite interviews yet. But, well, I don't say but a lot of conversations that we've been having lately have made me even start thinking a little bit more. And interestingly, it has, I guess, facilitated the space for all people to have those conversations with me. And I'm learning a lot, I'm discerning a lot. And yeah, okay, that's all of it. So between the top of the month and now that we're at the end, where do you think you're at on the conversation around women in ministry?
So, I still am of the belief that women do have a part to play in the church. We do have a role to play in ministry.
Mm-hmm.
But I also do believe that there's a lot of learning that needs to take place. Understanding how it is that I'm able to have the conversation, have the hard conversation about language and being able to do that.
Yeah.
How about you?
I can agree 100% on the topic about learning. I think one of the things that I don't think I was convicted about, but maybe I was convicted about this month, is that, you have this strong belief that you're standing 10 toes down on, but you probably don't have the full skill set to defend it or to back it up, you know? And so, I mean, you saw me talking with my chest at the beginning of this series, but then, I was in a conversation, well, I wouldn't say I was in a conversation. I saw people having a conversation, and they had some strong points, and I didn't feel as confident in, like, I don't say expressing, because I'm not hiding it, I'm not preaching, I'm like done, but I also just realized that there's more work for Jayden to do, so in order to advocate for what he believes that God is doing in us and through us, a lot of times, and by for the record, when we talk about women in ministry, we're kind of specifically talking about pastors and preaching, and a lot of people reference the text that says, "This woman to shut up."
Yeah.
They don't need to quiet. And how do you feel when you see that in the Bible?
I wouldn't know how to feel because you're basically saying I should be seen and not heard. And that would be a double whammy for me because I'm a youth. I'm a woman.
Yeah.
So, shut up times two.
That's so real.
So, it would rub me a little way, but it would give me an incentive to want to learn more. Because you dive deeper.
Yeah.
Know why I do have a voice.
Yeah. I think that these texts, I don't think are valid, but I mean, we understand the Bible to be an inerrant word of God, and it's God inspired. And so we believe that the things that we see in there is what God felt was necessary for us to have. I do think some things can't be taken as face value, and we must understand who is writing it, who they're writing it to, the time it's being written, all of those things. And there are things about that text that I've come to learn and understand. But one of the questions that I found myself asking, right? Because there are female prophets in the Bible. And I think I was just reflecting and wondering, like, if God gives you the authority or he gives you the gift to reveal things to you and give you the authority to share those revelations with other people.
Yeah.
But then he would give you the authority to expand a revelation on his word. It's I don't say use try to find the right word, you gotta be careful. You know, but I just say that I feel like if God can entrust a woman with prophecies, he'll also entrust them to deliver his word. You know? And you see it in the text, like even with when Jesus rose and they pulled back the stone and they looked in and there was nobody there. Like, it was a woman who went running and told people, like, he's risen. Isn't that the gospel?
It's the gospel.
It is the gospel. And so the first person, based on scripture, to preach the gospel after the prophecy was fulfilled was a woman. And so, I don't know. I feel confident in my beliefs at the moment. I'm starting 10 toes on it, but I just know there's more work for me to do in order to, like, in terms of just discerning and properly articulating my thoughts and opinions on it.
Something that came to me just now when you referenced the story about the stone being rolled back from the tomb and a woman being the person who saw that. In my head, it's like the word came to me newness and revelation. So maybe that was newness.
Yes.
You know, and opening up and you territory to be exposed forward.
Yes, and it's also like maybe a death to the old is, you know. But in the same vein, I just think, but some scriptures that like I have used to affirm the perspective is, in the last days, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. You know, not some flesh, not just the flesh of men, but everybody. You know, so that's one. And two, it says there's no Jew or Gentile, no slave or free, no man or woman. It's like we're all God's children. We're all called for His purpose. We're all called to fulfill something greater than us. You know, so yeah. And one of the things, I also want to make it very, very clear that the wrestling that I'm having isn't in my belief. The wrestling that I'm having is being able to fully articulate.
Yes.
You know, because I feel like I know what I want to say, and I feel like I want to.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm still at the end of March thanking God that I was nurtured in the United Church as a church that believes in diversity, in inclusion, and continues to create a space for children, women, and the elderly to express their faith, to fulfill their calling. The people who don't have the privileges are the children, the elderly, and the women. And so the United Church rises above that and give persons the opportunity to express themselves. So I'm glad that I grew up in a space that allows that I'm not even wrestling with the idea of should we include everybody. I'm just wrestling with telling you that you should include everybody. Yeah.
And when you spoke about ministry, it reminds me of what we've been stressing for the longest while. Like, ministry isn't just something you do because you can fix. It's something you do because you've been blessed with the gift, the authority from God to do it. So I feel like once you've been given that ministry, it's for us now to look. I want to say that look beyond that to receive the message, because He can use whomever He wants.
I feel like Jesus, one of the things He did when He was here was like disrupt a lot of like social constructs. Because why was this man at a well talking to a prostitute? I don't think scripture calls it that.
Yeah.
But a woman who is promiscuous. You know, what was Jesus at the world time? That was crazy back then. And then remember that there were people identifying him as the Messiah at the time. So I'm pretty sure somebody was like looking from their window and being like, you know, but he didn't care about these things. He's like, I came to share the table, and I'm gonna do just that. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it as well, Jesus, when professing truth, angered the very people who said they believe in him and the opposite of him. They were about to like throw him off of a cliff one time because he was expressing the truth. And I think like similarly we will find that when you're expressing the truth and it goes against what a lot of people are socialized to believe, it's easy for persons to be like, pack up this, you know? So yeah.
I still feel like there's a lot to unpack, and as time progresses, we'll delve deeper into it, and we'll take you guys along, because you know it's a learning process for us.
But while bringing you along, we want to continue the conversation with an actual woman in ministry. Well, you are a woman in ministry.
Yeah.
You're not full-time pastoral ministry, but a woman in full-time pastoral ministry. And so we have a very special guest for you guys. I can't wait for you guys to meet her. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you after this one.
Let us paint the city red at Youth Convention 2024 on May 5 at the Montego Bay Convention Center, where we will come with our praise, we will come for the outpouring, and we will enjoy the fellowship as youths from across the island of Jamaica come together to send up some praise to the Almighty Father. See you on May 5 at the Montego Bay Convention Center. You have to be there.
And we're back. And as you can see, we're here with a very special guest. Now, people, when I tell you about this woman, like profound, anointed, called, powerful, rooted, oh God, I can just keep it going. Sitting with us at this moment is none other than the Rev Khereen Wilson-Bailey. And right now, I just know heaven is rejoicing, you know, because here we have somebody who has committed themselves to the call and the capacity of being a full-time pastoral minister. Welcome, Rev.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you. And I just want to kick this off. Tell us, some background. Who is Reverend Khereen Wilson-Bailey?
No.
But he did come. Yeah, like, how did we get here?
Well, I don't know how we got here. I grew up with 3 siblings, and mother, father, and I love church. There was something about church that always excited me. I was at church practically every day of the week, and after doing that for all my life, I was planning to be a linguist, to go and study languages in Cuba. And then I received a call to full-time ministry, and I'm here. You know, growing up, I was a tomboy. I grew up with 2 brothers. I used to climb trees and pick everything, play marble and cricket in the road, all those things. And I love music. I was a DJ in the house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I know God just turned it and plant me here for such a time as this. Yeah.
I feel like I just strategically missed out a very important part of her story.
Definitely.
I feel like I remember hearing something about some drum sets and
somebody talking amidst the drumming. But we don't know the true story. I think you're better.
So, in terms of how I got the call to ministry, I was a drummer at church. So, at church, I was very involved. As I said, I led the youth fellowship, was part of the young adult movement at a particular point. And I was a drummer. I was the first female drummer. I was quite the phenomenon back in my day. And so one night at a crusade, we had annual crusades. The ministering servant was preaching and doing his thing, and I'm background, and he just turns around and he said, you on the drum, come here. So I left my sticks and went to the altar, and he ministered to me and said that the Lord was calling me to full-time ministry. And from then on, I tell you, I cried. I must tell you, before that, I went to the United Church camp, and I had a feeling that something was different. I came home from camp crying, and I said to my auntie, God is doing something in my life, but I don't know what it is. And so camp was the August, and the crusade was in September.
Wow.
The man of God came and said, full-time ministry. And, it was difficult. I cried for months, and I was trying to see if I could study theology without doing full-time ministry, but it never worked out.
I get that.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you said that happened to you at a crusade, because my first experience with you was actually at a crusade. What keeps you motivated to just continue going all over the place to preach the gospel?
I couldn't claim anything for myself. It's really just the Spirit of God moving in me. I cannot tell you how many times the flesh would want to abandon ministry and do something else. Because sometimes ministry gets difficult, but I always feel constrained. I feel like Paul, who said in Corinthians, woe is me if I do not preach the gospel. So that's the sense of the call that has been on my life that keeps me going. I don't, even in moments when I feel inadequate, the Lord comes and He ministers through me in various situations. So I just continue for as long as He will have me.
The first time I didn't meet you, but I saw you at the day of fellowship that recently happened at Meadowbrook United, and you preached, and your rawness and just your authenticity and saying the same words even when you feel inadequate, or you know that God is with you and He called you for a purpose. And when I tell you that you drip me the day, bad. Because this is something I'm working through. It's something I struggle with. I feel very unequipped a lot of the times, and I feel like just hearing that, in spite feeling like that, you still go out every day knowing that God has a high calling for you. He's literally called you to do something much greater than you thought you could have ever done. So it's very inspiring.
That's the truth, and I think this business of walking by faith is what anyone who wants to follow Christ must do. It's not because you feel that you are adequately equipped and competent and I have this about me. It's really just because God says, and you walk by faith.
So Rev, first time you and I got to connect deeply was we went to Guyana together, and you just expressed that sometimes full-time ministry can be heavy or a lot to contend with. What are those experiences that you get to escape the pulpit like?
Yeah.
Well, funny you mentioned that, because all my days being at UTC, we were always challenged to say what area of ministry is most exciting for you. Do you feel called to? And mine is mission. I am mission oriented. I like to be on the go, sharing the gospel with anybody and everybody. So that excites me. When I'm doing that, it doesn't feel cumbersome. I'm excited, I'm free, I just want to go. So missions, traveling anywhere, locally or internationally, sharing the word of the Lord, getting involved in that which points people to Jesus Christ really energizes me. It does. So I always have to do a little commission trip here and there outside of the regular pastoral ministry setting.
Yes, and on the topic of mission, I know that United Church does a lot of mission work. Apparently, there's a lot of mission groups, like Council for World Mission, World Council of Churches, among others. Do you think there's room for us to do more, and what are some ways we can do that?
I think as a church there's more we can do, and I think our busyness and separateness prevents that. Because when I look in the United Church and see us, who we are and who we have, and the giftings that God has given this church, I think we just get weighed down with our individual lives, that we don't see how important it is to partner and to walk outside of the four walls and do ministry together. And I think that would be more effective. So I've been taking my church in Ebenezer and in Andrews once a year outside of the four walls. We're not having church in here. We're walking the community and talking to people on a Sunday morning, because that is where the mission field is. It's not really in the four walls. And so I think if we can do more of this rather than being in our local congregations talking to each other, but if we can connect one to the other and see those gifts in operations in real life with people, then that makes ministry not only effective but exciting. People will want to be a part of that. Yeah.
So, Auntie, you said that a lot of the times busyness, like just having too much to do, you feel like you have 1,000,001 things to do. How was it coming to ministry at 19? How was it balancing, learning everything you had to do but still managing to be a teenager?
I'm sorry, I have no competence in that area. I just leaned all the way into ministry. I'm not the fun, let's go out and do these things. That's not me. I love people. I love to engage people. I'm interested in people's stories and so on. But I don't think I qualify on telling people how to have fun and remain balanced. Because when I take up something, I put my blinders on and I'm just in that realm. Yes. And so, if anything, it's a flaw. So I don't qualify to tell young people how to have fun and still do the work of ministry. I just enjoy ministry, so it's fun for me. I don't look for anything outside of it.
So we're talking about women in ministry, and we know the pressures that come with ministry in general. Along your journey, what have been, you would say, the rough moments that probably stood out, and how did you overcome them?
Wow.
Loaded?
Yeah. I don't know if my roughest moments in ministry had anything to do with my womanness.
Oh, fair.
Yeah. When I just started full-time ministry, I lost my father. That remains the biggest obstacle, for me. I grieve really hard. And so when I lose my members, when I lose people who are close to me, I engage the grieving process with them because of how that his death would have impacted me coming into ministry. And so I realize how important it is to be with people in moments when they feel abandoned, when they feel that God has done something unfair to them. I feel a sense of call to journey with them through that, because I know that people can really lose their way in moments like those. As a woman, when I just entered ministry, I remember I was saying to myself, I'm too small. I think I would look at Reverend Tara and say, look how she has the right size. Yes. But I'm so tiny. I go in a room and nobody notices me. That's the way that a little one ago. You know, so that would have been, I said, God, you call me. I'm a woman and I'm tiny. What you got to do with me? So I always had that sense of, what you call that? That awareness that physically I may not look like what people would accept.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I think if I think about being a woman in ministry, that would have been my biggest struggle. That I don't look like a pastor.
You know, it's very good. Like what the stuff you're saying, I can relate to them so much because I'm kind of small too.
I know.
I'm small too, and I've shared those exact sentiments. I went to camp last year. Was my first year serving as a leader at Teens Camp. Three-quarters of the campus, they were bigger than me, and everyone was like, "You're an auntie," and I had to send me to put my shirt on the first day, like the auntie shirt, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm an aunt." And if I'm being honest, I left camp not really feeling like I did much because I felt that my size was kind of an inconvenience, for lack of a better term, to me. But coming out and seeing women like you going out and not being big in stature, but being big in how profound you are and what you bring to the table, and just delivering God's word unapologetically gives me a lot of confidence knowing that I can look to.
Yeah. I mean, we had women in ministry when I just candidated, but they weren't young women. We didn't have a lot of, to see young women. So ministry was for like older, more mature women. So it's, and so there was a bit of charting the course, and having my sister next to me, Reverend Time, was also helpful, I believe, in getting that done. And so I believe that together, it helps us be able to accomplish what God wants us to do, rather than when we are separate. Yeah, and gradually as you hold on to God and as He teaches you, you realize, oh, God can use anybody. You don't have to look a particular way. You don't have to have a particular accent or anything. He calls you. There's something about you and what He has deposited in you that is helpful for a particular mission that He has, and nobody else can do it but you.
Yes.
Because He has made you for this. And so I continue the journey, and I say that for you as well.
I love that you brought up Reverend Sarah, because she brought you up. And another person that we interviewed who is a part of what have been done to your sister's circle is Auntie Janet, Mrs. Janet McMiles.
Yes.
So, who are some other persons in your life who have been sources of strength and support along your ministry journey?
Wow. Different people how would you say? You draw on the gifts and the support of different people at different times. So Reverend Yvette, as a woman in ministry, is definitely somebody that I look up to and have, really drawn upon her from time to time. I'm inspired by the men as well. So the General Secretary, I claim him as my mentor, Reverend Norbert Stevens. I picked him. Yeah, so he's my mentor. And then there are the Reverend Davidsons, the Reverend Ashley Smiths, who is no longer here, who have really impacted my ministry going forward. Reverend Colin Cowan also, at a particular moment. And I can't leave out the Reverend Donald Williams, my pastor from Port Maria, who, when I asked profound questions, never ever made me feel like I was an illegitimate child. He said to me, anything you want from God, ask him for it. So I grew up with that sense that anything you lack, you can ask God for it and he will give it to you. And he did that. And I bless God for him as my pastor in terms of nurturing me and my faith in God. Yes.
On the flip side of that question, because in my experience, you've been one of those persons in my life that will see me and, get Jayden together, get Jayden on the right track, And so, like, even for example, I remember again when we went on that trip and we had the report to do, and I was slacking on it, and you were like, Jen, come here, sit right here, and you handle the laptop. He said, don't get up until it's finished, So you've really taken the initiative to guide young persons and persons coming up behind you for the better. How important is it for you to pass the mantle on to others? When I think about other young female ministers that are coming up behind you, like there's student ministers like Auntie Nysha, and then we have the Reverend Anya Young. I'm thinking about all those persons that are serving within the United Church context. How important is it for you to set a standard for them and even, hold their hand as they go along the journey?
Very important. Many people held my hand and pointed me and corrected me and sat with me, and some were harsh, and so I've learned how to be gracious when I'm dealing with young people, and but all needful, and I am grateful for that. And so I think it's important that I don't, that I also recognize the responsibility that has been given me to help others as they navigate the space, whether it be whatever shade of ministry, pastoral ministry, youth ministry, however it is. I think it's important because as young people, one of the biggest lessons we have is with our identity. We want to know where we fit, we want to know what we should do, what must be done, all of these questions we have to navigate. And those experiences that I have, if you come close to me, I share them with you, depending on what your need may be. And I think that is important, that we don't hide our stories, that we don't pretend like we're perfect when we came here, that we have certain desires and appetites and how the Lord would have had to work on it. And so what I think is important is that we be authentic and genuine and talk the things them, so that those who are coming up can recognize that it's you struggle to get where God needs you to be, but it is in that struggle that God perfects his work. So don't knock the struggle. There are some things I remember I didn't feel competent to marry people when I just came in the ministry. That was part of what you were supposed to do as a minister, but some of it is your own conviction. I said, no, I'm not married nobody. And for many years in ministry, I didn't go for my marriage officer's license until I was married for 3 years. And so there are struggles, is what I'm saying. And you get to a point in that struggle where you feel, oh yeah, I can't do this now. God is good. Thank you for carrying me over. And so you share the struggles with others. And so I think it's important to set an example for everybody, male and female. Struggle, find your mentors, find your people you can talk to, but make sure you are committed to overcoming. So that the work that God is seeking to perfect in you will be perfected. Don't drop off the journey. So when I see people like you, Jayden, I'm like, we were just talking about it earlier. Oh, Jayden come to you convention and make a shots, and I feel like, where is your man think him going? And he's still here. Because you wrestle through stages and phases, and you're still here because you love God. I love God. And so we have to give people room to grow and love them while they grow and watch God just work out his purpose in them. I love to see that.
thinking back to all you made me think about at the end of the because as you say, you dream. I had gotten the opportunity to, I won't say preach because I don't think I'm a, like the term preacher, it just
feels bigger than me.
Literally feels bigger than me. So
share the word.
Yeah, I was asked to share the word at church, and one of my friends asked me how I feel if it is that God called me to full-time ministry, like how it is that I respond. Because everybody who knows me as this schoolgirl. You know me and you know Nysha does well in school. So what would I feel like if I was called to step away from that? How it would feel. So I want to know what you would say to little Nysha or little Khereen. Like, what would you say to give her some reassurance that coming into full-time ministry is going to be fine after all of that? It's good.
Yeah, the struggle is real. I never came willingly. I was pulled and hauled and draped. But God does provide. I can honestly say that coming into ministry has not made me worse off than I would have been in another space. The difficulties and moments in my life that I felt like giving up, God always comes through somebody or through His word to reassure me, I called you, I got you. So I always give this example. My dream in life was to travel the world and be a linguist. I was gonna go all over the world. I would be a diplomat and I would be translating for people. And when I see how God orchestrated my life and I'm traveling the world and sharing the gospel, I said, oh, so that's what you were trying to tell me. I had it in my mind like I was gonna work for the secular and do all of that, but God wasn't really saying to this little girl, because I had that dream from grade 5 primary school. He was actually saying to me, I'm going to use you in this particular way. So I have since then traveled all over the world and preached and taught the word of God, and it has been received, because I always told myself I was going to be a great diplomat. I was going to be sought after, I always set myself up like that. So it has happened, but for Jesus. And I give God, He won't drop the ball with you. You can trust God. I have learned that I can trust God. And so if He calls me away from anything I'm doing, no matter how nice, and no matter how much I'm enjoying it, and no matter how I think I should be here, if God calls me away, I have now learned I can trust Him. So I'll go. So I'd say, trust Him. Okay. If He's knocking, answer.
Youth Camp is officially back. From August 3 to August 8, you need to be at the Matt Saunders Conference Center for the camping experience of a lifetime. See you there.
Can you share with us the value of female representation in ministry, specifically pastoral ministry, and the value that they bring to the table, and why it is necessary for them to serve in that capacity when so called?
I don't know if I look at it like that. I just believe God calls people. And so whether you have one leg, half a face, male or female, God calls people. And so if it is that God has called you, you do not have the right to disqualify yourself based on anything that anybody said, because He has called you. And when God places a call on your life, it doesn't matter how people try to frustrate it, you are called. And just like Jonah, if him haven't met the whale swallow you and spit you out back, you're called. You don't get over it. You can't just wake up and shake it off. you have this sense that God wants me to do something. And so, whether you are male or female, God has you for that particular purpose, molded you for that particular purpose. And so, women in the space, men in the space, children in the space are God's people, God's tools, God's instruments. And I don't believe anybody has the right to cast a judgment on the man, woman, child that God has called, because God knows what He's doing. And when He no longer, when that call has expired, you know, you will know if it ever happens, whether by death or He moves you on into another space, you will know. But it is God's doing. I think a lot of people think that people coming into the space of ministry is because of them enough, or they want to be seen or so on. But there is a real call that people experience that they can't just discard and ignore. You have to, you're compelled to obey it because it beckons you.
Let us paint the city red at Youth Convention 2024 on May 5 at the Montego Bay Convention Center, where we will come with our praise, we will come for the outpouring, and we will enjoy the fellowship as youths from across the island of Jamaica come together to send up some praise to the Almighty Father. See you on May 5 at the Montego Bay Convention Center. You have to be there.
Alright, so thank you so much for talking to us about the heavy stuff. But no more fast in your business.
Just a little
bit. You know? How we see the little rock on the finger.
A little bit.
Yes. We see the little rocks on the finger. And I'm curious. So tell us, marriage life. Tell me about who you're married to. Because young people love them something here.
Yeah.
This is what we use to promote the video now.
Well, I'm married to Clifton Bailey, who happens to be a minister in the United Church. And we met at UTC when we were training to be ministers. But nothing never happened. We never saw each other like that, okay? But when I...
We'll take your word for it.
Yes, but when we were doing ministry together, I was in youth ministry in the
Western region.
The
best time of your life, right? One West. One West.
No comment. And he was pastoring there as well. And so that is where I think his interest was sparked.
In the West.
In the West.
All right.
Great things happen in the West.
Okay.
Yeah. Then he introduced himself to me in that light. And shortly thereafter, I tell you, when the announcement was made that we were getting married, the whole church was shocked. So it was as shocking to us as it was to them, you know. And so we've been married now 13 years, and he is in Mineral Heights and I'm here in Ebenezer Andrews. And it makes for a very interesting dynamic because, and I tell you, two ministry couples is hard.
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine?
Sunday mornings, we're going in two different directions. Wednesday nights, Tuesday nights, every time, you know. And so it's you have to be really intentional to do ministry together and to get time together. You know, you have a skill.
How do you strike that balance?
Yeah.
Come show something.
We don't strike a balance. There's no balance. It just
works for you.
You just try to do your best with each day that you have, and when you recognize that you really have not been spending time nurturing the relationship, you try to swing the pendulum back, because you can very easily be doing ministry without, taking each other into consideration. My husband is better at it than I am. As I said, when I go, I'll just go and go and go and go. He's the one that's always pulling me back and say, hey, we're not spending time together. We're not coming here. Right. So we're not perfect at it. What we do is try to communicate very well and say, hey, this is what this looks like now. So we try to get things back in the order that they should be.
When I think about two ministers being together, all I can think about is the stress and the heaviness of spending so much time apart. I naturally also asked this question, but I was stealing from her for this one. What would you say is the greatest joy about being able to be married to someone who is serving in the same ministry as you?
I think the level of understanding. You have to explain certain things, and when you're doing ministry, you have a partner that can back you up. So I always have a backing team. Somebody to help me preach, somebody to help me pray, somebody to help me teach, somebody to drive. You always have a sort of backing team. So I'm not coward in ministry. I have been working on my courage in some areas, but when we go out there to deal with devil, we are dealing with devil hard, rough, because together we make a dynamite team. We know our roles very well, and over the years we've sort of perfected that kind of synergy. So I know when it's my time and he knows when it's his time, and we know to wrap it up and put the bow on it and come home. Yeah. So you talk less. See, some things just work.
Yes. Yeah. And come naturally.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I was sitting here and when you mentioned question that I like to ask, I thought about the pouring the vessel one, not being able to pour from an empty vessel. I think about being a pastor, being a full-time minister. You are constantly pouring into your congregation, constantly pouring into the people around you. And I think having someone who understands that level of how draining it can be from a personal level, you can pour into him and he can pour into you just the same. So you're not just always pouring. And I think that's a very beautiful thing to have. And I think you can look at it as striking balance.
I think one of the things people don't, my husband and I debate a lot. We would go to bed debating and wake up debating. Certain issues we're trying to work them through. So it's not a cantankerous debate, but we hold our points and we are arguing them. And so you come out with clarity. One of the things that helps me with the clarity that I have in ministry is the fact that I have a partner with whom I have these debates. And so by the time I get to John Public, I am very clear about certain things.
Yeah. So about family life in general, how do you balance that though? Cause even now, you're stuck here with us while you have family stuff to do.
People, I can tell you, my husband was there at home saying, I wish you there. You just try every day. You ask God to give you the strength, and you just try every day. Right now, we're raising 3 children, and that comes with its own joyful challenges. We enjoy it, but you just do what you have to do every day. And when you need to take a break, children will say, "No, it's not God. You know how we come." So you take your me time as well, and you just try as best as possible to share. Yeah, but there's no perfection to it. No perfection. You just deal with every day as they come and try to make the best of it.
Well, I think that's it.
Yeah.
And I think we had a very fruitful, very enriching, right, segment. And we're just happy that you were able to come and to share with us. And I'm pretty sure everybody on the other side, you got something. Because we got a lot.
Yeah, we got a lot.
So, thank you for coming once more.
Thank you, Nysha.
And thank you.
Jayden.
I'm happy to act. And also, like, before we go, because I like to do this with our guests, is to just affirm them. Because I know that, like, sometimes, well, you shared it earlier as well, like, they just can't bother. It gets too much, it gets overwhelming. But you knew me while I wasn't as funny as put together as this. Because funny enough, when you saw me that first time, I had only been saved for 6 months.
Oh!
you know, and
that explains it.
But it was just a different time, and I guess that could have happened. I'd be like, yeah, this one not showing up nowhere again, you know. But it was never that energy, and it was always open arms, availing yourself to give advice and guidance for the better. And I know I'm not the only one that you do that with. There's so many lives that you have touched, and there's so many persons who have testimonies where you have been God's vessel as the increase. And so keep doing what you're doing, because your impact is great. And this conversation has been so fruitful. I know that the young people, when they listen to this, they go, you know, this, you know, you're preaching, and Nysha.
I was just about to say, maybe add a little piece, because you didn't even know me. And I lived that Surrey. I was going to come talk to you afterwards, but that's not a conversation. Kind of shy sometimes. But I left the day feeling like I had a voice, and feeling that there were people who were before me who have paved the way. And if that is my calling, I know I have people who will be there to nurture me and to take me on the journey.
Amen. And I really do wish to say that we need the young people in ministry. Many of you are considering various career paths and what you're going to do. But some of you have been called. You feel that tug on your heart that the Lord is calling you, and you have been sidestepping it. You're trying to do all these other things, and you think about ministry and the implication. Your life is not yours. It belongs to God. And so I would say, what God has purpose to do with it, let Him do with it. Stop fighting and come and serve God in full-time ministry.
Thank you, Rev.
If that is your word, you take it.
Yeah. I was looking over there. Woo! Yeah.
Thank you, Rev Khereen Wilson-Bailey, for coming and sharing with us. We hope that you guys were thoroughly blessed.
Because we were.
We were. And remember to come and watch us every single Friday.
Yeah.
As we release new episodes, new
Yupisodes.
And continue to just have these conversations that we all want to hear. Remember to follow us on Instagram and TikTok to see all the extra content. And you can always listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. But if you're more of an audio-visual person, where can they find us?
On YouTube.
On YouTube. On the UCYPF channel. Thank you so much for watching. And remember to always say, yup.
Yup.
Right.
Bye.